What's up, guys? I am headed out to the hoop house, but first I wanted to show you guys the progress on these peppers. So over here were sweet peppers, some right here were spicy in this section, and then all of these are the determinate tomatoes. You can see they were soil blocks, they were individual like that, but I think I shared how one of my cats, I brought this tray inside and wasn't thinking about it and didn't protect it, and then one of my cats jumped in the tray, and so that is why they're all smushed and kind of together. But as the plants start growing, I'm going to be able to look back on my pictures and see what is what. I am just letting them sprout. And this is the tray where I started some herbs, and I don't know what that is, but I would have to look back on my notes. But we do have some action going right there, and then we see a new baby one right here. I do know, I think this is artichoke. That's the only one I'm sure of because the seeds are so much bigger. But that is so exciting. It makes me really, really happy to see all of those pepper babies and tomato babies sprouting. I did not realize, and my house is cold, and so I have this sweater on and I have boots and everything, and it's actually really sunny out here, so I know it's probably going to be way hotter in the hoop house. And I did plant some seeds, maybe, I don't know if it's been a week. I don't think it's been a week, but oh, I do see some sprouts. I had started these soil blocks, but I never got a chance to plant them out because I got busy. But I do see, this is amazing. So this is a herb, fenugreek, it looks like, and that has begun sprouting, so that's really encouraging. I don't see any chives or sage or culantro, but I also have 4 trays, or 5. Oh yeah, I see some other stuff happening over here. So this is all marigolds, and there's definitely some sprouts happening here. And then baby calendulas. Oh, this is so exciting. And then I even see a couple hollyhocks. Oh wow, I'm just beyond excited. These are all my brassicas. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bring them outside because they don't, and water them because they don't need to be in this hoop house hotter than it already is outside. So I'm sitting here with my planner. Let's see if I can get it up one-handed. With my planner where I wrote down each week what seeds I was supposed to start. And so I am the week of the 30th. And like I think I shared in, I did share in one of my videos where I shared about my planner and that even though I wrote it on a Monday, that it's basically what I can plant for that whole week. So even though today is way past Monday, it's still in this week. And so I'm supposed to be planting eggplant, basils. I can plant radishes in the garden, tomato slicers, and calendula. I've already planted the calendula. So today, I don't think I'm going to plant any radishes in the garden yet, but I am going to start my, I didn't start my tomatillos yet. So I'm going to start my tomatillos, ground cherries, eggplant, slicer tomatoes, and my basil. I think what I'll start with is the eggplant, the tomatillos, and the ground cherries because I already have those tags written out and I already have the seeds sitting out there. This is what I was working on before I got sidetracked. I would definitely say that the most tedious and time-consuming thing that I don't want to do, but I have to, writing tags for all of these tomato plants and varieties because I'm going to need them to know what I'm planting and what varieties. It would be so much simpler if they just had like pre-made tags for me, but I have to sit here and manually write all of these varieties that I'm going to be starting today. So I think I'm going to go out to the bistro set and then write it out there. It is definitely cooler out here, especially underneath this canopy, than it is inside of the greenhouse where it is hot, it's humid, and so it is even hotter than it is outside because of the plastic that's on it. I had someone ask about this tabletop if it had glass, and it doesn't. It does have all of these holes. But I am loving the bistro set. I'm loving having somewhere to sit with a table so that I can work out here and underneath this cool shade because it is pretty sunny out here. I was not expecting that. It's actually supposed to be raining every day this week, and so I was planning on doing this inside of the hoop house and thinking it was going to be a cloudy day. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's going to rain later. I actually don't see any gray clouds in the sky today. So I did just finish getting all of the tags written out, and so that is very exciting. I am beyond excited that it is seed starting time. To see seeds sprouting inside of this hoop house is amazing, because that is why we built it, so that way I wasn't filling up my inside glass room with a bunch of seeds like I did last year, because once they got to a certain height it was fine, but once they started growing past about 4 weeks, it was really hard to manage all of the seed starts. And so this hoop house is super big. It can definitely hold all of the seed starting that my heart desires, and so it just makes my heart so happy to actually see some seeds sprouting in there. As I'm sitting out here, I kind of got a little distracted from looking at all of these forever garden beds. I did share in a video how I filled all of the beds, and now I'm sitting here. We've been having trouble with one of our small dogs digging underneath the fence and running through all of these beds and digging holes in my garden. And so we did end up putting a tire. We put a tire here, a cinder block here, because she was digging underneath here. You can see all of the proof, all of her beige hair. She was running all through these beds, all of the footprints. She was in here, running through all of these beds, just stumping away. She was even in this bed on this side. At first, she was coming in through here. When this wasn't filled, she was moving this and just coming through here. And so we had put over here. Then she started going in through that side. So hopefully, now that we have that other side secure, we were leaving her out at nighttime to run and play with our livestock guardian dog, because they get along really well. And but no more leaving her out at nighttime, because that is when she is sneaking into my garden. There's just footprints all over all of the beds. So I have no idea. She even dug out this bed right here, dug hole. And so all of that is from her digging. I just saw this. I wasn't even coming to look, and obviously somebody was digging up this garlic. I decided to use some of these cheap broken trays to use to start these seeds, just so that I wouldn't be throwing so many away, because I do have some like reusable ones from like Bootstrap Farmer that are really high quality, but I did have some also of these cheaper ones, and I don't feel like throwing them away necessarily right now, especially if I can get a use out of them. As you can see, they won't be good for like bottom watering or anything like that, but holding in these starts will be just fine, and let them grow big enough till we transfer them to a bigger pot. I did get plenty of these cheaper containers, just because last year, just specifically in case I was going to be giving away or selling seedlings by the tray, so that I wasn't giving away my good quality ones, and so that is why I have them. But I definitely still have all of my heavy duty seed starting trays that I'll be up potting all of these plants into. I just looked at the weather for the next 7 days, I think it was, and it is going to be going down to 27 degrees at night in a couple days. So I won't leave this tray that I'm about to start in the hoop house. I am going to bring it inside. There's this Black Beauty. This will be my first, I think this is my first year ever growing eggplant, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember ever growing it in the past, because I don't really care for eggplant, so I never wasted my time growing it. But my son actually really likes eggplant. He's asked me a few times to get it from the store. I don't remember what I actually made that had eggplant in it, but he liked it. But I am not a big fan, so I never really keep it in the house. I have 2 of the same packs of these. This turned out to be such a perfect day to plant seeds outside underneath this gazebo. It was 77 as a high, but underneath this gazebo, not in direct sunlight, it felt like true spring, even though I know this is fake spring because only in South Carolina can you go down to 27 degrees after being a high of 77. But if you guys have any recipes or any ways of preserving eggplant, just in case I get a large harvest this year, I would definitely like to know. Leave it down in the comments on ways that you use eggplant and or how you preserve it. I know one recipe that I did try, I remembered, was some kind of like pizza where we used the eggplants in slices and then put like Parmesan or mozzarella or something like that and turned it into pizzas. And I know about eggplant Parmesan, but any other recipes that you guys can think of, definitely let me know. So I finished that whole tray of the basils and tomatillo, and I did actually go ahead and put it inside my hoop house because the freeze is coming in like a day or 2, and that won't be time enough for those basil and tomatillo seeds to germinate. And so I am going to go ahead and leave them inside the hoop house because after that it goes back up to the lows being above 40 degrees. And so then I'll just leave them in there. Right now I am working on starting all of these tomatoes. So I just counted, and these are 55 slicer tomato varieties that I'm starting. And I was just working through that in my mind. I think because I started, I think this was 75, 75 individual spaces that I could plant. I did, like I showed you early in the video, that I have my determinants already started, and then these are slicers, and then I have a separate day, I think next week, where I plant my cherries, no, paste, and then the last week I start my cherries because cherries always produce way faster than every other tomato in my garden, and slicers take a little bit longer because they have to grow bigger. And so my plan was to start them earlier. I think we are 8 weeks away from my last frost at this moment, and then at the 7th week I'll do the paste, and then at the 6th week I'll do my cherries. And my thought with doing that is that if I'm separating them, they'll all be growing at different times, and so I won't have just a whole bunch of huge big plants that were all started at the same time, that I would have different varieties as far as in tomatoes. So when I'm planting them, since I probably won't have a whole full day to plant out every single tomato, that I can start with the oldest ones and then work my way down. And so that was kind of like my plan going into this, especially because it says that our last frost date is going to be March 29th, but for the past few years it has been into April. We've even had late frost or late freezes into like the mid-April. And so I definitely want to not have all my tomato seedlings super big. If some are big, and then I have medium and then small, I think that would be way better. As I was planting some of my tomato seeds, I realized that some of my packets were from 2017, and I know I planted those last year and they were still sprouting. So if you have old seeds and you ever wondered how long is too old, and they weren't stored in the proper condition, because I bought those seeds before we sold our last house, and then I stored them inside of a storage unit, and it was not like climate controlled, and so in the South Carolina heat it was definitely hot in there, and so those seeds have been through a lot and they are still good. And so I'm still using them, what is it now, 6 years later from 2017. So definitely don't throw away your seeds, even if they weren't stored in the right conditions, which actually makes me reminds me, so I think it got a little confusing. All of my pepper seeds, my spicy and my sweet pepper seeds did get soaked, but only my determinate tomatoes, because those were the things that I had already planted out, and that is why they were still inside the greenhouse, because I planted them and left them out there. And so I think a little people got confused and was thinking that I didn't have them planted before I lost all of those seeds, or you know, I don't know if I lost them. They are dry now, and they didn't sprout, so I'm hoping that they are still good. But I just wanted to clarify, I did answer some people's, most people's comments and tell them that I had already planted out those seeds before they got wet. And so I will definitely be strategic about saving seeds this year from all of my plants, just in case the seeds that I did dry out are no longer viable. And then, like I said, it was only my determinate tomatoes, and so today I planted out my slicers, but I still have all of my cherries and all of my paste that was inside the house, and those were still dry. So just wanted to clarify that. I thought that I was done filling soil, but as I was showing you guys, and as I was sitting here, and it has rained for about 3 or 4 days straight, I'm looking here, and it definitely looks like these beds can use some more compost on top, because they fell, like when I filled them, they were completely to the top, and now some of them are about, you know, that much head space, which is fine. It's better that they sit now and get rained on down and get stumped down now before I plant in them. That is what, and then they, you know, start shrinking so much. That's what happened with my roses. So I have climbing roses in both of these, and when I planted them, this is a mint, but when I planted them, they were overflowing with soil, and then over time it got squished down, and then I refilled it back up, and then now a third time it's low again. And so I was just sitting here thinking about it. I think I'm actually going to dig up, when I get more soil, dig up those roses and add more compost into the containers back to the top, and then replant them, because they are just dropping, because that those beds, we put, I think, leaves and wood chips in them, and so it's been a year and they're breaking down, and now I need to replenish the soil. That probably will, I probably should do that now, because I do see lots of new growth on the roses, but obviously I haven't had time. There's so much things that I have going on, but hopefully when I do get a chance to do it, it will be fine. It actually took 3 yards of compost to fill all of these beds, or 3 yards of soil, because 1 yard was bagged, I just got from the store, and I think I got about, probably even more than 1 yard, because I got 30, I think it takes 22 cubic, like 1 cubic foot bags to equal 1 yard, and I think I ended up getting 32 maybe, and so I got a little over 1 yard of topsoil to fill these, and then I got 2 individual yards dumped inside of my truck of compost to top it off all of these beds, and now they are low again. And so I think I'm going to need just one more yard of compost. When I thought I only needed 1 yard, and then we got another one, and so now when I told my husband I need 1 more, he's gonna probably laugh at me, but he can obviously see that the soil, the beds and the soils have definitely dropped. And then there are some beds out in the garden that, even though we filled them up during fall when we took everything out, they have also settled, and so I can top off the soil in the garden beds as well. I have no idea how much it's going to cost to fill these pathways with landscape rocks, because I was looking online about, like, obviously I would probably need a bulk delivery and then have to, you know, manually scoop it over here wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow at a time. But it's such a large space, and between speaking to other people who have rocks in their pathways and use like 7, you know, yards, and their garden was like a fraction of mine, the thought of it is like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to need a lot of landscape rocks. But I think, you know, over time that would be the best option, instead of just looking at this black landscape fabric, even though there's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, when soil falls off the bed, it's easier to put it back in the bed when it's on the fabric than if it was on the rocks. But I did think that it would be more durable to have rocks on top of the landscape fabric, just to help definitely keep weeds or trees, because this area was filled with trees before we forest mulched it. And so there are definitely probably tap roots in this ground, especially in this area here. That is what I'm most concerned about. Are y'all collecting the eggs? How many eggs?
Mommy, this one my egg.
Hey, there's an egg back there on the ground.
So that will be 12.
12 eggs? Cool. Those are really pretty. Thanks, girls. The day is over, so my girls are going to bring in those eggs, and I am going to go inside, make some dinner, and wait to pick up my son from baseball practice. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for hanging out with me while we got those seeds planted and just chit chat.